I was born in Switzerland on August 9th, 1896, and died on September 17th, 1980. By the time I was 15 years old, I had developed several papers on mollusks. I attended the University of Neuchâtel, where I majored in psychology. Before I released my theory of cognitive development, I worked at Binet Institute in the 1920s, where I developed French versions of questions on the English intelligence tests. I created a systematic study of cognitive development, and I was the first person to do so. I intently observed the actions and choices of children to support and add to my research and findings. Before my work, people believed children were incompetent thinkers. My studies showed children thought in different ways. I believed children were actively constructing the world as they age and grow, with growth occurring in different stages. My first daughter was born in 1925, and my second daughter was born in 1927. I later had a son in 1931. Once my children were born, I began spending more time at home with them and my wife. Within this time, I observed my children's behaviors and conducted tests. Near the end of the 1920s, I returned to the University of Geneva, where I furthered my research.
Piaget's theory of cognitive development.
Because we are constantly adjusting and readjusting to the world around us, we are shaped by 4 different factors, these being: first, maturations, which is attributed to biological changes within us. Second, activity. Activity is acting on our surrounding environment. Third, social experiences. Social experiences is learning from others. Lastly, equilibrium. Equilibrium is searching for a balance.
According to Piaget, all species inherit 2 basic tendencies. First, we inherit the tendency of organization, which is a system of combinations, arrangements, and a wide array of behaviors into specific classifications and groups. We also contain the tendency of adaptation. Adaptation is defined as becoming adjusted and learning from new information and surroundings. Piaget discussed assimilation and accommodation as the 2 primary interactions and exchanges of learning. Assimilation is the interpretation of new information in terms of pre-existing concepts. Accommodation is the revision or modification of pre-existing concepts in terms of new information or experience. According to Piaget, assimilation and accommodation work together to aid children's thoughts and to create a cognitive equilibrium. Cognitive equilibrium is a balance between reliance on prior information and openness to new information.
In Piaget's theory of cognitive development, there are 4 chronological stages that a person experiences. Sensory motor is the first stage in Piaget's theory and involves children from birth to 2 years of age. This is the earliest stage. Object permanence is a big theme of this stage. Object permanence is the idea that objects still exist even though they can't be seen. Infants don't understand that objects still exist when they're out of their sight. As goes the saying, out of sight, out of mind. An example of this is described as giving a 5-month-old a toy. If you take the toy away, they won't look for it because they don't understand that the toy still exists. Another example includes the game Peekaboo. The child will think the person or object has vanished and will be surprised when the person or object returns. At this stage, children also gather information about the world using their senses. These senses include sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. This could explain why babies always touch different objects and want to put them in their mouth. They are attempting to learn more about the world around them. In the sensory motor stage, babies are very active. They learn how to move their bodies around in order to learn about the world and what they are capable of doing. The next stage is the pre-operational stage, which involves children ages 2 to 7. In this stage, children begin to think symbolically, making words or objects stand for something other than what they are. Children learn to talk around age 2. At this age, words symbolize objects. Memory and imagination are also 2 important points of this stage of development, as children begin to partake in pretend play. Other factors of the pre-operational stage include understanding past and future, thinking mostly by intuition and struggling to see perspective. Egocentrism is the next point of the pre-operational stage. Egocentrism is the idea that children don't understand that other people or kids may have a different point of view than their own. An example includes sitting and watching TV. A child in this stage will come and sit right in front of you and begin watching TV because they believe that since they can see, you can see too. Another example includes children believing that you are not able to see them, even if they cover their eyes. The phrase follows, I can't see you, you can't see me.
Piaget's third stage of development is the concrete operational stage. This stage includes children ages 7 to 11. The concrete operational stage is a turning point in development as it marks the beginning of logical and operational thinking. An example of this is when a child is told to put away his books according to height. The child recognizes that he starts with placing the tallest one on one end of the bookshelf and the shortest one at the other end. Children can also begin to work situations out in their head. An example being a child understands that a favorite ball that deflates is not gone, but can be filled with air again and put back into play. Also during this stage, children can begin to conserve numbers. This means that numbers hold the same quantity even though appearance may change, understanding that 10 plus 2 equals 12 and 12 minus 2 equals 10. Learning the ability of conservation is another main point of this stage. For example, a child in this stage will believe that the amount of something depends on the visible appearance, not truly the quantity. Pour the same amount of water into 2 identical glasses and show the child. They will say that there is an equal amount of water in each. While still in front of the child, so that they can see what's happening, pour water from one of the glasses into a tall, skinny glass and the other into a short, wide glass. Ask the same question again, which has more? Up until this stage, they will say that the tall, skinny glass has more because of the water being higher. Once they reach the concrete operational stage, they will be able to understand that the amount of water does not change based upon the size of the glass. In this stage, children also become less egocentric, more aware of their surroundings, and are able to understand that their thoughts and beliefs are different than others. The formal operational stage occurs at ages 11 and up. The formal operational stage is where a child begins to develop characteristics such as thinking abstractly about actions and their consequences, and also where one can solve problems without needed experience regarding said problem. An example of this thought process includes a study Piaget performed himself. In this experiment, he asked multiple children where they would place a third eye if they had one. He received all types of answers which supported his formal operational theory, in fact, that conceptual and theoretical thinking occurred. Features of a formal thinker are an individual that is sensitive and reflective to others. They are also more aware of social processes. Formal operational thinkers use logic and reasoning in their decision making. They are more organized than the previous stage of development. Possibilities are imagined and problems can be solved systematically.
In order to apply Piaget's theory into the everyday classroom, teachers should use props and visual aids when possible, make instruction short, and shouldn't expect students to consistently see the world from someone else's point of view.